What's up, YouTube? This is Biblical Truther. I'm making this video today because not only has it been on my wife's heart to put these things out there, but Friday I got home from work and my wife tells me that my daughter had told her a few things, one of which was that God had told her that we needed to start warning people of what's coming. And some of those things are these dreams and visions that my wife's had, one of which is a dream that I had, and another that my daughter had. I've explained the one that my daughter had. It's actually been several dreams over a period of years, from Jesus sleeping in a bed to him waking up about 6 months later, to him getting up out of the bed 6 months after that, to him walking across his room about 6 months after that, to the most recent, which has been roughly 6 months ago, was that his hand was on the door, like he was fixing to open it. Now, if that's not profound, I don't know what is, but my daughter's 7 years old, just so you know, and I don't think that I've ever met a child as young as her be so in touch with the Lord as she is. But I want to start with a dream, or I don't know which one's a dream, which one's a vision, but I remember quite a few of them that my wife's told me about. One of which was a tidal wave or a flood hitting the Statue of Liberty, and at the time we thought it was talking about the prophetic dreams that many people have had about the Statue of Liberty getting hit with a tsunami in New York. But she had been to Vegas before, and apparently upon crossing the Hoover Dam and going into Vegas, there is an exact replica, well, not quite exact, I think it's a foot or so shorter than the Statue of Liberty in New York, but there's a Statue of Liberty replica as you go into Vegas. Now, I've never been to Vegas, but there has been other people that's had prophetic dreams and visions that say that the Hoover Dam breaks. And the little bit of research we've done into that, the amount of water that that dam would release would absolutely look like a tsunami. And there's been other people that did, like Jonathan Kleck, he's did a decode of a Bud Light commercial where they show a guy named Ian. He gets picked up by a female at a bar, and they go through this whole little thing, and it's all about twins, right? And he ends up playing a ping pong match against Arnold Schwarzenegger. Well, the ping pong table itself is a replica of the Hoover Dam. Or I'm sorry, is it the Hoover Dam? Yeah. It's the bridge that crosses over in front of the Hoover Dam, actually. But anyway, so I think some of these dreams that people's had, even though I believe that New York's going to be wiped out by a tidal wave because it's on our money, I think another one is going to be the Hoover Dam breaking and flooding Las Vegas. So that's just one dream, and I wish my wife could do these so she could get in more detail about them. But a second one was New Orleans. We live about 50 miles north of New Orleans, straight down the interstate, leaving out of New Orleans. She was telling me how she was in a vehicle of ours and was headed towards New Orleans. And before you get across Lake Pontchartrain, we got a long bridge called the Twin Span. And as she was approaching the Twin Span, she could see these army planes, like the big bombers that we used in World War II, flying over, and they dropped an atomic bomb, or what it looked like an atomic bomb, nuclear bomb, either or. But the dream was vivid enough that she remembered exactly what it looked like, and we did our research on that. You know, the paint on the bomb actually turned out to be, I believe it was North Korean type of bomb that they used that was painted a certain way. It's kind of like a bullseye type with 3 fins. And I could be a little wrong on the details, but just wanted to mention that dream. That I had also mentioned Logic Before Authorities channel when they did the flyovers down here to commemorate the heroes on the front lines for this pandemic, that it was actually a ritual kind of singling out New Orleans. The way that the flight pattern that they did was actually in a way a sigil of sorts, which, if anybody's been following Dreams and Visions lately, there's been a few about, and even iPetGo too, about the 4th of July maybe having a 9/11 sized event, if not greater. So that could be tied to the July 4th event if they have one. I'm not saying they will. Another one I think I've mentioned too was the UN soldiers that were on the corner of my property on my road, just standing there. 'Cause I live on a dead-end road. I got several acres, and it's one way in, one way out. My wife was on her way home, and there were some soldiers in the road, and they had baby blue helmets, and she didn't know what to think of that because she's never seen any army type guys wearing baby blue helmets. So when she's explaining this dream to me, I knew right away who it was. It was the UN, because that's their style helmet. It's a baby blue helmet, and that they were standing there at the end of at the corner of my property on the road. 2 of them just standing outside their car, and she said she don't know how she knew, but they were there for me. And so she pulled into my neighbor's house and tried calling me on the phone to let me know that there were soldiers there at the house looking for me. So that was the 3rd dream. And she just had another one in November. It was about our children getting kidnapped. And if you all is following the news, there's been, I think, a couple in California. I think an attorney came out and said that a woman that he's representing came down with the COVID. And even though she had relatives set up to take her kids for her 14-day quarantine, that the state was going to take her kids anyway. That it didn't matter if she had an alternative for them to be taken care of while she did her self-quarantine for her 14 days. So the state ended up taking the children, and there's been other attorneys that came out saying they're dealing with the same thing, that the courts are ruling in the favor of the state to take the children from people who have came down with the COVID-19. And I don't know if y'all been paying attention to your phones lately, if you got the newer, like the S10 or the iPhone 10. I don't know if the 9 has done it. I'm sure it has. Most all the iPhones or all the smartphones have gotten the upgrade already, whether you wanted it or not, about contact tracing. And it said that your location has to be turned on as well as your Bluetooth, and that's how they're going to find out if you've been near anyone with COVID-19. And in order to turn it off and it not, track your movements and who you're around and all that jazz, both systems, the Bluetooth and the location, has to be turned on. But if you turn the Bluetooth on and the location off, it gives you a little notification saying that it's still working, but not 100% to its capacity. And then you turn the Bluetooth off and the location on, and it gives you the same thing. But if you turn both of them, I don't know, it's a whole big thing that my wife was trying to show me, and I can't quite remember exactly how it went. But it's like they tell you that they need both turned on in order for it to contact trace you properly. So whether you've seen it in the law books or in the courts or on the books for your state's government, they're doing it whether you voting on it or not. So there's only been a couple of states, I believe, as of right now that's came out and said, yes, we're using these systems, but I don't think it has anything to do with the state. I think it's all government that are using this apparatus to contact trace everyone, and this is going to become a big deal when it comes to the children, because they are after the children. They are after a young mind that they can re-educate, so to speak. And if you've been following in the truth community, I think North Carolina or somewhere in that area, one of the states has came out saying that they will if parents refuse to give their children and themselves this new vax for the pandemic, that you will be quarantined yourselves and sent to a re-education camp. You know, like years ago when they were saying all these Walmarts were closing and turning into re-education camps, and everybody's like, oh, you crazy conspiracy theorists, you're so silly. Well, it's becoming law now. So in this dream, my children were outside playing in the front yard, and I think I was at work, and my wife was inside doing her, wifely duties or whatnot. And she went to look out the door to, check on the kids, and they were missing, gone. So she went outside, looked around, nowhere to be found. Neighbors didn't know where they were, so she called me. And I don't know if I was at work on my way home or whatever in the dream, but somehow she and I got together and started looking for our children. Well, they had been kidnapped by Black Lives Matter. And I don't want this to be a racial thing, because it's not. Because Black Lives Matter, if you go to their website, has nothing to do with black people. So this is an Antifa movement that's been hijacked and will continue to be hijacked and used as a farce against us to purge this racial war that they want. Maybe purge is the wrong word, but whatever. So we ended up finding them at this house. They were locked in an attic with several other kids, and they were all drugged, heavily drugged. And we basically had to fight our way in, get our children and the rest of the children, and escape, and more or less fight our way back out. And she said in the dream, a couple of days later, what seemed like a couple of days later, she had to bring my daughter to a doctor's appointment at like an urgent care, and because she was real sick, and we don't know if it was from the drugs that they had gave her in the vision or not. So she brings them to the doctor, and once she gets in the room, a nurse comes in and says that she needs to see my wife outside for whatever reason. So my wife goes out the room, and then they're kind of telling her some nonsense and stuff, and she was like, I need to get back to my daughter. So when she goes back in the room, a nurse was in there trying to give my daughter a shot, and she said all she can see in the trash can was a box that said Nora. She thought it was like the norovirus vaccine, but now that all this corona stuff happened, it very well could have been corona vaccine. But she's not 100% positive, but this was months even before the cases showed up in Wuhan, so it's very possible that that's what it was in her dream, was that she could only see a certain portion of the box, and that's what she was able to read from it. The next dream she had was us being in FEMA concentration camps. We were all dressed in like pilgrim-like clothing, ragtag, battered clothing, like we had been living off the grid for a good while. And we were all lined up, and there was like a public square where they had guillotines set up. And we were in this long line of people, and I think I had mentioned this before also. I was the first person in line, and they were bringing me up to be beheaded. And I was just smiling, had a peaceful smile on my face. And we were talking the other day that there's other people that's having this dream as well, but it's not just beheadings, but it was other means of what's it called? Capital punishment at the hands of the state. And I believe it was another lady who had a dream, and she was kind of bewildered at the fact that the person that was being killed just had a smile, just an at-peace smile, and she didn't know whether or not it was because their soul had already left their body prior to this event fixing to happen to them, which is very possible. But I know the Bible tells us that we will be delivered up to kings and rulers to be killed for his name's sake. But don't think about what to say at that time. Let the Holy Spirit speak for you. So even though these people didn't see us, or me, my wife didn't see me, or the lady that shared her dream didn't see that person speaking, maybe that was just the Holy Spirit stepping in to take us home, or had already taken us home. I don't know, but I know in Revelations, John asked about the spirits that were below God's throne, asked them who they were, and the angel told him that those were the people that were beheaded during tribulation for his name's sake. And speaking of beheading, in this particular vision, I don't know if you know much about the Education Day that we celebrate every year, but Education Day is actually centered around the Noahide laws. And I was just watching Rayleigh News Live from a video they did yesterday. Today's Monday, the 29th of June, I believe, so yesterday would have been Sunday. They were talking about the Noahide laws pretty extensively, and the lady from Israeli News Live, she said that they are also known as peace and safety laws. Now, where have we heard that before? Peace and safety. Because Jesus said when you hear them say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them. Well, I believe that these peace and safety laws, the Noahide laws that Trump signed into law, and has been signed into law by every president since, I don't remember which one actually started signing them in, but it's been before Reagan. Every president has signed them into law, and they fall under Education Day, the Education Day laws. So you can look it up along the lines of Education Day. But anyway, the 7 Noahide laws are a knockoff of the 10 Commandments. They sound like great laws, like the 10 Commandments the Christians have, and the 7 Noahide laws that the Talmudic Jews have. They almost 7 out of 7 almost go hand in hand. However, you have to start reading the bylaws, the underlaws of these 7 laws, and you will see that Gentiles are considered vermin, animals. We're not even the same race as the Jews. We're a lower class, just mutt, more or less. And every one of these laws you can be beheaded for, just about, for breaking any of these laws, and one of which is thou shalt not steal. Well, that sounds great, but if a Gentile steals anything that amounts to 1 penny, it's punishable by beheading. And they only need one person to accuse you of it, so it don't even mean that you have to steal anything. As long as one Talmudic Jew, and I'm not talking about the Jews that are Messianic Jews, I'm talking about the other ones that the Bible says are the fake Jews that are claim they are Jews but are not. All it takes is one of those people to say that you stole something that amounts to 1 penny, and you could be beheaded for it. Idolatry. If you are a follower of Jesus Christ and you are considered an idolater, you can be beheaded for that under these 7 Noahide laws. So if you hadn't really dug into those, I would greatly suggest that you do that and you read the underlying laws of these 7 laws and see just how anti-Semite or bigoted these laws are towards every other person considered a Gentile that's not a Jew. Also, there's been talk of the UN being moved to Jerusalem and power of the UN being given to the Sanhedrin. That's kind of crazy because, you know, Revelation just talks about the power given to the beast. So, and they will exercise all the power of the first beast. So, could the UN be that first beast? And the Sanhedrin, who are going to bring the 7 Noahide laws upon the whole world, is that the second beast? Because Netanyahu, like they said in Israeli News Live, he said that Israel is much like the Israel of old, of 2,000 years ago. Well, Israel of 2,000 years ago crucified Christ. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. But anyway, another dream my wife had was me being held at gunpoint by 2 men who were yelling at me, "Where's your Jesus now?" I was on my knees, gun to my head, and she said I was just smiling trying to talk to him, you know. And they pulled the gun out, stuck it to my head, and was like, "Where's your Jesus now?" And she said I just smiled and said, "He's everywhere. He's right here, right now, standing here with us." And she said the boy pulled the trigger and his gun misfired. And that's pretty much where that dream ended. And these next few dreams, one is mine, one is my wife's, one is my daughter's. Well, actually, one of them's not my daughter. That's a different one. But anyway, these right here, what I believe is coming for us, the church, the true believers. Because don't think we're going to get out of this with a rapture. I don't believe that. But in my dream, we were standing in my front yard. My wife was standing behind me about 20 feet. And there was this tidal wave just rushing at my house. And it was moving so fast and it was so big that I knew it was just gonna explode our bodies when it hit with such force. And it was just rolling across the tree line for as far as I could see. And I just turned and looked at my wife, and she was holding my son. And when I turned back and looked, it was already at us. And it was like a bubble of protection just encased me. And I turned and looked at my wife again, and a bubble encased her. And I was just like, what? You know what I'm saying? What? That's crazy. So we were underwater and watching this water just roar past us in this protective bubble. And I believe that's signifying the protection that God's going to have on us until such time, as it says in the Bible, when the beast is allowed to overcome the saints. And I believe we'll have 3.5 years that we're going to have to deal with these things before, the real persecution comes along. Now, if September 23rd, 2017 was a real astrological alignment spoken of in Revelations, Revelations 12, then Satan will be put upon the shore at that time, and 3.5 years from September 23rd actually is March 21st, 2021. So if that, I think I've spoken about that before in other videos also. If that's not a manufactured sign, well, even if it is, it would be manufactured by them. So March 21st, 2021 is going to be pretty exciting. So I guess it depends on if that marked the start of tribulation, or if tribulation is going to be started on March 21st in the next year. Really don't know. Hadn't been told anything regarding that, so I really can't speak to it, and I'm not going to be setting any dates, but I know those dates are kind of set in stone at this point due to the 2017 sign. But my wife also had another vision about the same protection, the protective bubble. She actually had two. One, we were standing out in front of my house, and there were bombs dropping all around us, and the tree line behind my house was on fire. There was a bomb that fell right in a field next to my house, and we were surrounded by this like crystalline looking bubble. It was odd, the appearance of it. But I liken it to maybe what the firmament could look like. But another one she had was people that were out in front of my house. They were shooting at us at my house, and the bullets were just going right through us. You know, it was like a protective force field that was kind of letting them pass right through us without ever hitting us. And I do believe that's the supernatural protection that we're going to experience through those times before they are given authority to take us out, basically. So get your houses in order, man. This is real. This is happening. These people they say they're using the book of Revelations as their playbook, trying to fulfill Bible prophecy, and why they would want to bring the wrath of God upon themselves is beyond me. But they're doing it, and apparently they, to a point now where they think they can they can beat God. That's the foolish thing to confound the wise, right? But yeah, my daughter, when she was asking, you know, she was talking to the Lord last Friday, I think it was, before I came home from work. One of the things that she asked God was, how old is she gonna be when she gets to go home? And, you know, we don't hide nothing from our children. My son, he's 19, he's a little free spirit, I guess you could say, but he's coming around. God's pulling at him pretty hard, and he's having his wrestling match with God right now. And he keeps hearing and seeing more and more things that I've told him come to light. And I hope y'all take heed of these warnings, man. I told y'all about the Gregory Joseph Hallett thing, and not to toot my own horn, but this was about a month ago in my Gregory Joseph Hallett Messiah Revealed video, and now he's being talked about everywhere. I do believe this guy is going to be a serious player. because especially if the Pope and the Queen and Donald Trump and everybody else is giving credence to this guy's story, all that's next is him to take control of Jerusalem. If he's really the seed of David, which I highly doubt, but they fabricated some real paperwork and family history to support that. So that would mean to me that Israel's going to soon subside to his rule, and he'll be king of the world at that point, the Messiah of the Sanhedrin, when the Noahide laws and all that come down on everybody. But yeah, my daughter's 7 years old, right? So she's asking the Lord, when's she going to get to go home? Because she sees how this world is. We don't hold nothing back from her. I would say, I would liken her intelligence level to about a 12-year-old. Like, she is very, very smart. And some of the things that she says is just astounding. Like, most adults can't talk to you and carry a conversation on and come off with the not just wisecracks, but the logic that she thinks with at 7 years old. It just blows my mind. But she'll be 8 in December, and the Lord told her that she would be 8 years old when she gets to go home, and that's next year. She'll be 8 years old in December. So she's actually kind of excited. It's kind of crazy. But we don't want her being surprised about what's coming on this world either, because like I told you, they're after the children, and they're not going to be able to brainwash her, I promise you. She is 100% for God. No two ways about it. But it makes me proud to be a father, that I'm training her up in the right way, you know what I'm saying? She is a Jesus-believing, God-fearing little girl, man, and I do believe God speaks to her, and that's part of the reason I'm making this video, is that was one of her, one of the things she said that God told her while she was asking about what age she would be when she gets to go home, was that we got to start telling people these warnings that he's given us. We got to get it out there. We got to tell people. And we was like, okay. I'll start taking some notes down about, the dreams and visions that my wife's had, and the dream that I had. And I don't dream very often, but when I do, I usually don't forget it. But, so now I'm bringing it to you guys, man. They're coming for the children. I guess that's the main message. So don't hold nothing back about the Lord with your children. They need to know that he is God, and that Jesus came here to reconcile us back to him. Teach them how to pray. We have Bible stories that we read our children before they go to bed, little story books. And they just need to know. They don't need to be in the dark about these things. That way, whenever they come, they'll know exactly what's going on, so they won't fear either. Because God don't give us a spirit of fear, as I said in my video a couple days ago. And just like 4 weeks ago, my video about the monuments, that was 2 weeks before the Satanic Temple came out and said that they were going to start putting statues of Satan in the places of these Confederate monuments. When I see these things, and I feel in my spirit just an overwhelming urge that I have to get it out there. I have to make a video on it. I got to put these things out there, so I do. And all glory to God, because I wouldn't have been able to put that together. Daniel 6, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. When I said in that video, are you going to be found standing? when they make all the world bow to the image. Because just like they were in the furnace with the angel for 3 days, so they were walking around, and then when Nebuchadnezzar took them out of the furnace, they didn't even smell like smoke. That's that bowl of protection, where the fire didn't even touch them. So just be ready. And is your faith going to be where it needs to be for you to have your own bubble of protection? Because God is ready to show out. Satan is ready to oppress and kill, steal, and destroy. And the Lord is ready to show him his true power. It's kind of like the Kung Fu master and his student. You know what I'm saying? The student don't always learn everything the Kung Fu master knows. You know what I'm saying? So there's extra biblical texts out there that say that God didn't share everything with Satan. You know, Samael, whatever you want to call him, Azazel. Satan don't know all the secrets of God. So for him to think that he can take him on is just mind-boggling. But God's fixing to show out, man. So be ready, be prepared, and be with God. Pray, read your Bibles, get in the Word, man. Learn these things. Time is coming that we're going to have to be that Shadrach or Meshach or Abednego. We're going to have to be found standing for God and for Jesus Christ. Peace and grace, y'all.